One of the nicer qualities of RPGs is that you know you're going to get your money's worth. People spend $60 and now even $70 for these new games. It's natural that many people want these experiences to last as long as possible, especially games like Final Fantasy where you only get one every so many years. Well, today we got a brand new Famitsu interview with Naoki Yoshida and director Takai, talking about some of the game's content. So if you are excited for FF16, be sure to hit that subscribe button, as this channel does all FF16 news all the time, so you won't want to miss out. This Famitsu interview has been translated by @itaikimochi and delivers a little bit more perspective on the game's length and content. Quote, "We heard there will be around 11 hours of cutscene in FF16. That's a lot of volume to expect." Yoshida, "The 11-hour estimate does not include scenes that happen during battle events, so it is truly a chunky amount. And that doesn't include side quests either. We also have cutscenes prepared for content not related to the main story as well. So this 11 hours of cutscene is just the main story events. Doesn't include anything from battles, it doesn't include anything from side quests. This Final Fantasy game does not skip on the cornbread, and it is looking absolutely thick." The interview then continues with Takai saying, quote, "We heard people asking if you focus on the main story, does that mean there's not many side quests? That is absolutely not the case, as we of course have plenty of side quests prepared." Yoshida, "When the game development was just starting out, I had the idea in mind that gamers these days are really busy with other things, so I wanted them to be able to at least aim to complete the main story. I thought making the game something you can complete in about 20 hours would make sense, but more and more just got packed in." Takai, "I also thought it'd be a good idea to be able to clear the game in about 24 hours, the duration of a day, but as we worked on the game, things just kept expanding." He laughed. "I'm gonna be honest, they're definitely onto something here. 20-hour games to me are the absolute perfect length. They're not so long that I get caught up with other life distractions and never complete the game, which can be the case with so many long RPGs, but it's also not so short that I regret spending $60 or $70 on it. On top of which, I find overly long games tend to be fluffed out, whereas 20-hour games tend to have a lot less padding in them. More often than not, I find myself thinking, if that game was a little bit shorter, I probably would have enjoyed it more. Skip all of the padded moments and just get right to the meat of things. That's not to say I think Final Fantasy XVI is going to be bad for being 35 hours by any stretch of the imagination. It's just to say for the most part, I agree with their line of thinking that 20 hours tends to be the perfect length for a game nowadays for me. Yoshida then continues by saying, quote, "For this game, we really wanted the player to be able to experience the story from start to finish. If the story was too long, then it might get tiring to play. That's why we wanted Final Fantasy XVI to feel like a roller coaster experience, where just when you think you see the road ahead of you, you're pulled into another direction. As a result, the game is truly packed with stories, battles, etc. that if you did not skip any cutscene, it'll take about 35 hours for you to understand the meat of the story and complete the game. Now, if you want to master and level up all the abilities, gather all accessories, do all side quests, fight all the monster hunts, you're probably looking at about 70 to 80 hours of gameplay. Not only that, but we also included an insanely difficult New Game Plus mode that allows you to carry over all your stats called Final Fantasy mode. That'll probably add even more gameplay hours. As much as people clamor for wanting longer games, if you actually go and look at the completion rates on them, they are not nearly as high as you would imagine. But one thing I do find really helps with that is making a truly gripping story, one that just does not let up. A great example of a game I think really captures that roller coaster ride feeling would probably be Nier Automata. I've played that game multiple times, and every time I play it, I just know that the next big epic set piece moment is around the corner. And every single moment of that game is so well crafted that once you start Nier, you really can't put it down. That is exactly what I'm hoping for with Final Fantasy XVI. Takai then expresses his hope for Final Fantasy XVI to have endless gameplay, and this is achieved via the leaderboard, with him saying, quote, "We also implement a scoreboard for attack points, and after the second round, you'll see a leaderboard. Once you try this out, you can have literally endless gameplay and be able to compete with other players around the world, myself included." Now, I've seen a lot of community thoughts on the leaderboard that I struggle to wrap my head around. There are people who are actively mad about the leaderboards. This isn't even something you're going to see on your first playthrough at all, and in fact it only unlocks on the second playthrough. It's also something that is entirely optional. It's not something that the game is going to lock trophies or any type of rewards behind. It's literally just there so that you can, if you want to, compete with others for a high score. This basically allows anyone who wants to continue to try to get better at the game, allowing them to enjoy hundreds of hours of gameplay as they try to become the best in the world at doing a boss fight, which I think is actually pretty cool. Also a feature that you can entirely ignore. So I don't quite get why there was a minority of people who were really upset about the idea of there being a leaderboard. I love it when games find ways to extend your playtime in ways that aren't just tedious grinding, but are super engaging. This was the case with Final Fantasy VII Remake's hard mode, which greatly enhanced the game on a second playthrough, and I think this is also the case with Final Fantasy XVI's Final Fantasy mode, its even harder Ultimania mode, and its leaderboards. It means that you can play Final Fantasy XVI once and enjoy it, or you can play it over and over and get more enjoyment out of it, and I think that is stellar. Shout out to Legions Gaming and the rest of the Ultima community.